The Rouman Cinema Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Rouman Cinema Podcast, where we watch the top movie each week and then we come on here and talk about it. My name is Emma.
My name is Wyatt.
And we just got done watching Elvis. Right off the bat, what did you think?
It's grand. It's just a great show is how I would describe it. Grand is my one word I would describe it in.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was really well done. Yeah, I think grand is a great way to put it. It was very well thought out. You could just tell. And yeah. It was very impactful, I thought. It was really good.
It's a dense movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at the runtime and you're like, okay, this is a long movie, but it's
Mm-hmm.
but it makes sense because it's the life of Elvis Presley, and there is so much that you have to pack in there, and there's so much emotional weight that is carried through the lives of, not because these are characters, but they're also people that had real life emotions. And so Baz Luhrmann, the director, he does a great job of trying to fit all of that in there in a way that's like impactful and meaningful, and it doesn't feel drawn out at all.
No, not at all. And I was trying to think of the way that I liked this movie, and I really liked, for example, like Top Gun. Loved that movie.
Yeah.
But I love this movie in a different way. And I think it's because, well, one, it's completely different because it's a real person, and it's weird to think that this happened to somebody real. Like, the fact that all those characters were real life people just makes it feel different, and you love it in a different way, but you don't love it like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what you're saying. I have that example with one movie that I saw. It came out like last year. It was called Judas and the Black Messiah. That one's also a biopic, and it's just like, I don't know. Biopics are weird because like when somebody gets it right and like they make a movie about somebody, like that's a tough territory, but when you do it right, it can be so impactful and so meaningful, and you feel a different way about that sort of thing. Like there's a lot of movies I like that just aren't real and aren't in the realm of possibility, and those I love the world those take me to. But when it comes to something like this, I love the attachment it allows me to create with this figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a lot of concern, especially with Luhrmann's type of filming style,
Yes.
that they were worried it was going to be over dramatized. And, I kind of take that as like that you would lose that emotional connection to him, and that it would be, over glamorized, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't think that. I was looking out for that, and I was prepared for that. And I think, yes, it is glamorized, of course. Like, the drugs and all that kind of stuff obviously are not as glamorous as the movie is going to make it seem. But, and it's not even, I wouldn't even call that part glamorized. It's just it's glossed over almost. Like it's,
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I think it's done in a way to where it's still powerful to watch, but also, like, it's also artistic and,
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Baz Luhrmann is like, just watching that, and there's just so many aspects where, like, I was just thinking in my mind, I am so tempted to just call this man a genius, because like there's just so much creativity being put onto the screen at like one moment. There are so many senses being stimulated. There's so much happening in a single shot that is just so incredible. And that's what he does. And it's polarizing because not everybody likes that. Some people like simplicity. Some people like more focus on emotions and that kind of stuff. But this was all, like, at times it felt toned back for Luhrmann's style, and it felt like he was understanding both sides of what, like, moviegoers want to see. They want to see that grand stuff, but they also like that emotional, weight that can be portrayed with simplicity. And there were a lot of simplistic shots, I thought. And I thought there was a great balance achieved between, like the spectacle and the emotional shots.
Exactly. Yeah, I would completely agree that I think his work is absolutely incredible. Um, but I would agree that it's different than The Great Gatsby and Moulin Rouge. Like it, I
Yeah.
it's still incredibly artistic and so well done. But I think because this story is so different, and that he's telling the story of a person's life,
Yeah.
of a real person's life, I think
Yeah, it's
that he
handled.
he took his artistic side, but made it appropriate for this person's life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But yeah, so, which we didn't already say, but Austin Butler is Elvis, and then much of the movie is focused on actually his manager, who's played by Tom Hanks. And I knew going into this, like, his performance was going to be incredible. Because, I mean, it's Tom Hanks. But I thought Austin did an incredible job as well.
And then there were concerns about Austin Butler as Elvis. And I think no matter who you cast as Elvis, there's going to be concerns for the sole reason, like, how can you portray Elvis Presley? Like, the man was larger than life. But Austin Butler does a good job of, I thought, just like kind of like blurring that line between myth and reality, and making me think like, all right, this guy carries himself with that swagger, and makes me really feel involved in the story. And so I think he did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I thought he was really great. I know a lot of people were like, I don't know if you saw this on social media, but we're kind of like, not making fun of him, but like, what the heck, when he was like kind of still in character in his interviews and stuff. I don't know if you've seen that, but I think that kind of, I don't think that was weird. I thought it's kind of cool because that's his dedication to this role. I mean, he was eat, sleep, breathing Elvis for like 2 years to make this movie. I think I don't know. I think it was well done that he picked up the mannerisms in order to fully immerse himself in the character. And I think, his work with that obviously like showed through very well.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many actors that claim they like method act and all that, and they get like so deep into their characters, and it's like, and this is an example of doing it well. Like, there's some examples like I'm sure you've heard about Jared Leto for the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. For his role as the Joker, he became completely depraved, and he was a horrible person to all his castmates. And you look at the output, and it's just like, you didn't need to do all that for that. Mm-hmm. But I look at this, and it's like, okay, if the guy was talking like Elvis for 2 years, that's 100% worth it, because he put out a great performance as Elvis.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Elvis is such a interesting person, because especially even just the way that he talks, like, that's such a big part of who he is, that I think it was important that was nailed.
Yeah.
You couldn't just do that,
Yeah.
Because, obviously that's not what makes him famous, but it's definitely like part of his unique personality that makes him stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, I really liked it. A little synopsis of the movie. A thoroughly cinematic drama, Elvis's story is seen through the prism of his complicated relationship with his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. And as told by Parker, the film delves into the complex dynamic between the two, spanning over 20 years, from Presley's rise to fame to his unprecedented stardom, against the backdrop of the evolving cultural landscape and the loss of innocence in America. The story itself.
Because they bring up like the changing landscape of America, and I thought that was also done really well, like showing like the change in social dynamics and all that sort of stuff, and social concerns and all the stuff that Elvis was a part of, and then sort of wasn't a part of. And it shows the concern of like, he was a part of it, and then his like removal from like the idea of social change. I mean, yeah, I took one sociology class, so I'm not going to sit here and claim to be an expert, but what Elvis did was a huge social change, and so obviously you have to tackle that part of it too. And I thought that was tackled really well in a way that's like, it's not like, obviously the main point is Elvis, but you have that sort of like idea running in the background almost as like he was bigger than a person. He was a social, change. Like he was huge for culture and for so many things,
Right. And kind of on the topic of, the social aspect of it and just life in general, the New York Times kind of comments on, the origin of his music. So there's no doubt that Elvis, like many white Southerners of his class and generation, loved blues and gospel. He also profited from the work of black musicians, and a movie that won't grapple with the dialect of love and theft that lies at the heart of American popular music can't hope to tell the whole story. And I was a little worried about this aspect of it, if they were going to, try to sell it that this was all his own, which I know that that's controversial. Like, obviously he did take the music, and I think they showed that well.
Yeah, and it's not like, the way they tackle it is not a matter of like saying like, it was all his own, or that he was, just a downright thief. It kind of takes like a middle ground of just, and it, I think what it does most importantly is just simply that it shows that what Elvis was doing was black culture, was black music. And I mean, I'd have to look into more to see what different people are saying about that interpretation of it. But I feel like that is just like the minimum of what you have to do, is just say that like this was black music that Elvis took to, become the best selling artist of all time. Like, I don't like, no matter how you feel about that, is just the fact of the matter. And I think that's kind of what they established.
For sure. And kind of commenting on Austin Butler's performance, Butler is fine in the few moments of offstage drama that the script allows, but most of the emotional action is telegraphed from Lerman's usual empathetic, breathless style. The actor seems most fully Elvis as Elvis, the film suggests, was most truly himself in front of an audience. Those hips don't lie, and Butler captures the smoldering physicality of Elvis as the performer, as well as the playfulness and vulnerability that drove the crowd wild. The voice can't be imitated, and the movie wisely doesn't try, remixing actual Elvis recordings rather than trying to replicate them. And I think that was a good move, that they didn't have him try to sing like Elvis, and also kind of touching on the music. I know you were a little worried about the lack of Elvis music in the Elvis movie.
What? Yeah, I did say that now, didn't I?
But I thought they definitely came through.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
a lot of really, all my But I grew up with listening to Elvis, especially with my grandparents and stuff. So, that made it extra special, kind of.
And now, see, like, my music taste definitely lies a lot in rap music. And so the fact that they were able to bring in, and again, it's just touching on the fact that, like, that was black culture, is bringing in, like current culture and implementing that into the movie. And the music in this was amazing. The mixing of, like, all this different stuff. And I've seen it described, I think it was to describe The Great Gatsby. But when Lerman makes a movie, music is not something that exists in the background. Music is not a soundtrack. It is a full-on character in his movies. And so there's nobody better to make a movie about who some could say is the greatest musician to ever live than Baz Luhrmann. I mean, yeah, the music blew me away. Denzel Curry is one of my favorite musicians right now, and so to hear him in this movie, like, rapping as Elvis is doing his thing, I don't know, that just put a smile on my face.
I mean, at least in my opinion, I didn't feel like it was over modernized at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, I still think, like, my grandma would love it. Like,
yeah.
I don't think she would feel like, are we listening to rap music or Elvis? What is it? I think it's integrated in a very tasteful way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That definitely would satisfy, like, the older generation who grew up listening to him, and then us,
Yeah.
So as far as this article also kind of comments on the music as well, in asking who was he. The movie doesn't provide much of an answer, but younger viewers whose firsthand experience of the King is even thinner than mine, this is the reviewer speaking, might come away from Elvis with an inkling of why they should care. In the end, this isn't a biopic or a horror movie or a cautionary tale. It's a musical, and the music is great. I would agree. I don't know that it goes like fully in depth as to like who he really was, because it's not him telling the story.
Right. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because like I was just thinking about like it's dramatized, you know, it's not accurate to the life of Elvis. Obviously, I mean, it is like it tells the story, but it doesn't tell it 100% truthfully, and it knows that. And so I find it so interesting to take a story about a real life person and use an unreliable narrator, like for this, like I don't know, like that's another thing that made me go, wow, that is genius, to have an unreliable narrator in what I still consider to be a biopic, even though that article said it wasn't.
Yeah.
This is a biopic because it's about a guy, and it's about his life. What else are you gonna call it?
Right, but yeah, don't expect to go into this movie to learn about him, like learn real facts about him. You know, that would be for something else. But
if you want to learn why his music was good, this is pretty. I mean,
oh yeah, for
good
sure.
start.
Well, if you want to, it really helps you like kind of feel the energy that surrounded him, like
that's true. The myth.
Yeah, and the reaction, like the impact that he had on people with the way that he made them feel when he was on stage, and that was another thing I just thought Austin did so well, is
you just couldn't look away.
Yeah, like he just, you know, that you could feel that energy through the screen of like how, you know, and of course like the women screaming and stuff is definitely dramatized. Like, people aren't, you know, actually losing their minds, but you know, he had that impact. Like he
was the king.
Yeah, and he did make not people crazy, but you know what I mean. I mean, you went nuts when you saw him. Like it's, and I think that really came through in this movie. Yeah, and so as far as how this movie is going to perform, it's showing encouraging signs, especially of a return to movie theaters for women, which is the targeted adult demographic. Social activity and pre-sales have perked up with each surge in marketing over recent months. The film's generational appeal could be notable given Learmon's past success with modernizing period films such as The Great Gatsby and Moulin Rouge. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of talk about this on social, which I think is definitely going to help push its performance.
Yeah.
And definitely tap into that younger generation to come out and watch the movie. And kind of like we said earlier, it definitely hit the nail on the head for that, but also for the older generation as well. Yeah, so any final thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, it's just a great bridge between generations. It makes great use of music, you know, film about a musician, and I mean, it's an experience you just can't look away from when you're watching it, and I think that is one of the most important things about a movie, no matter what story it's telling. If it's telling its story and you can't look away, then that's a good movie, in my opinion.
For sure, yeah. So the other movie that is playing this weekend at the theater is The Black Phone. So a little synopsis of this. The phone is dead and it's ringing. Finley Shaw, a shy but clever 13-year-old boy, is abducted by a killer and trapped in a soundproof basement where screaming is of little use. When a disconnected phone on the wall begins to ring, Finley discovers that he can hear the voices of the killer's previous victims, and they are all dead set on making sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to Finny. So this is definitely a horror movie.
Oh yeah,
it's a horror thriller, but it's predicted to do pretty well, especially to the lack of mainstream horror thriller films to open in recent months. And Black Phone's reviews have been strong for a couple months after their early industry screenings provided a jumping pad for a long leading buzz. The film currently stands at 86% from 57 critics, a very high score for the genre. So if you're into horror, that's definitely a great one to come out and see.
There's been a bit of a drought of that kind of movie of horror that we've
Yeah,
had here.
I would say like a pure horror. There's
Yeah,
not a whole
'cause-
ton
yeah,
that's
probably-
been here much.
I don't know how long it's been because do you even count Firestarter?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would say that's more of a thriller in my
If
mind.
I can watch it, it's probably not horror. So
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great one to come out and see as well. Jurassic World Dominion is still here, as well as Top Gun and Lightyear, which Lightyear just began showing last weekend. So definitely a new one and a very popular one. We also talked about that last week. And then next week, Minions: The Rise of Gru comes. And this is about, so long before he becomes the master of evil, Gru is just a 12-year-old boy in 1970s suburbia, plotting to take over the world from his basement. It's not going particularly well. When Gru crosses the path with minions, including Kevin, Stuart, Bob, and Otto, a new minion sporting braces in a desperate need to please, this unexpected family joins forces. Together they build their first lair, design their first weapons, and strive to execute their first missions. So that'll be kind of fun. I think that'll be a good movie.
Otto isn't in the rest of the Despicable Me movies.
No,
Otto,
he's new.
What happens to him at the end of this one?
I don't know.
I'm scared.
Maybe
I'm scared for Otto.
Yeah. But I think that'll be a good movie. I mean, can't really go wrong with Despicable Me, Minions, all that kind of vibe, in my opinion. I just think they're always solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anything else you would like to say?
Pharrell Williams did the soundtrack for the first 2 Despicable Me movies, or like he was involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Pharrell Williams. And so I'll always have a little bit of love for the Despicable Me franchise.
Oh,
That's
for
all I got
sure.
about that.
Okay. Well, unless you have anything else to say about any of the other movies.
No, I think, yeah, it's just
Alrighty.
good time for movies right now. Some good ones coming out.
Yes, for sure. So have a great weekend and definitely come out to see the new movies.